Welcome to Unit 2.3. Today we're going to talk about order of operations with powers. Order of operations is just a fancy way of saying we're going to do operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, using brackets, that sort of thing. So you've been doing operations with numbers your entire life. If you're doing 2 plus 3 equals 5, you just did an addition operation. So don't let that term confuse you. And we already know what powers are because we spent 2.1 and 2.2 dealing with that. So I think I emphasized this in the very first video to avoid getting different answers when different just basically means wrong. When we evaluate an expression, we have to use the order of operations. And I've always traditionally used bedmass, brackets, exponents. Then division, multiplication are kind of together. You multiply or divide left to right. And then addition, subtraction, you kind of do together from left to right. So as long as you do the brackets first, exponents second, division, multiplication third, and addition, subtraction fourth, you should be getting the right answer. So let's have a look at some simple addition and subtraction using powers. Now you have to get the powers right off the bat, otherwise you're not going to get the right answer. So this one's pretty simple. There's nothing to confuse us. There's no negative signs or brackets or anything. So 3 to the power of 3, okay, is 27. Okay, that's, if you need a reminder, it's 3 times 3. 3 times 3 times 3. Yoink. So this one's just 3 times 3 times 3. That's how we get to 27. Okay, now this one over here, I'll just keep the plus in the middle, is 2 to the power of 3, which is 8. And if you need a little reminder on that, okay, it's 2 times itself. Okay, so that there's 3 of them. 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. And then at the end, because we've done the exponents first, okay, there was no brackets, then we do exponents. And then the D is division, don't have any of that. M is multiplication, don't have any of that. Now we're down to addition. So 27 plus 38 is 35. That's your final answer. This one, there's a subtraction property, so it's we just got to be careful about that. Well, the 3 is just written as 3. It also could be written as 3 to the power of 1. It doesn't really matter. So we don't have to do anything there. It's just 3. And now we have to be careful because the exponent, the power, is just touching the 2. Okay, it's just touching the 2. It is not touching a bracket that includes the negative sign, so we're just going to put the negative sign right there, and then we're going to evaluate 2 to the power of 3, which we already did over here. It's 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. So that's important that we didn't include that negative sign in the power this time. So 3 minus 8 equals negative 5. This one here, we've got some brackets. Now, we know that the power is touching the bracket, so the power must apply to everything inside the brackets. But do we do exponents first or do we do brackets first? Well, bedmass says we do brackets first. So let's do the brackets. 3 plus 2 equals 5. And then all we've got left is the exponent. So brackets first, then exponents. 5 to the power of 3, remember, it's just 5 times 5 times 5. So there's 3 of them. That's 25 times 5, I assure you, is 125. Check your calculator. All right, example number 2, multiplying and dividing with powers. That example is actually on the next page. Now we're getting a bit more complex. We've got different types of brackets. We've got some negative signs. They use the old X for multiplication, which I hate because we're going to be doing some variables this year. So I'm just going to change that. To the dot. Okay, well, let's look at this. Well, it's all in brackets, so clearly we have to do everything inside the brackets first. Those brackets weren't really necessary. Inside, we've got subtraction, we've got exponents, and we've got multiplication. We know we have to do the exponents first, so I'm just going to write out what we're not touching. We're not touching 2 times 3. 2 times 3 to the power of 3. We're just not touching the 2 or the multiplication. We have to do the exponent before we do anything else. 3 to the power of 3 is 3 times 3 times 3. All right, 3 times 3 times 3. That's 27 times 3 is 81. Feel free to use your calculator. Now we have to do the second exponent. Now once again, we have to be a little careful here. This exponent is touching the 6. It's not touching negative 6. It's just touching the 6. So I'm going to leave the negative sign out there. And I'm going to do 6 to the power of 2 is just 6 times 6, right? So there's 2 of them, which we know is 36. Right? Now we have to deal with either multiplication or subtraction. Bedmass says do the multiplication first, all right? So 2 times 81 is 162. So we're at 162 minus 36. Now you can do this on your calculator. Sometimes I just put it in the margins, right? 162 minus 36, and I trust we can all remember how to borrow. 6 to 1, 126. It's always okay to do math in the margins. And if you use your calculator, that's fine. For me, it's almost easier just to do it over here sometimes. All right, let's move on to the next question. Once again, we got negative signs, we got brackets, we got division this time, we got exponents, so we got to do bedmass. Bedmass says brackets first, so we got to look what's inside these brackets, because there's only a negative 5 in this bracket. I don't really have to do anything there. But this one, there's some addition, so I have to do everything inside this bracket first. Okay, well now inside the brackets, we still have to follow bedmass. Inside the brackets, the next thing we would have to do is the e, which is the exponent. So we have to do 18 squared, right? Now, hopefully we remember that chart from last unit, and that would be 324 plus 5 to the power 0. Anything to the power of 0 is 1, so that's nice and easy. Okay, and then what is it divided by? We've got to do this exponent over here. The power of 3 is touching the bracket. That's important because everything inside the brackets now must be multiplied up according to the power. So this is negative 5 times itself, right? Because we've got to take everything inside the bracket. Well, we know that our answer is going to be negative because there's 1, 2, 3 negative signs. So I might as well just put a negative sign there right now. Okay, negative 5 times negative 5 is 25, right? And then times another negative 5 is going to equal negative 125. Okay, so negative 125 is our answer there. Still got to keep going. Now we've still got brackets and then division to do. And we've actually got divide by a negative number. If it makes it easier for you to reconcile these two signs together, you could always just put that in brackets to make it a little easier. All right, so let's do what's inside the brackets first. 324 plus 1, that's pretty easy. That's 325. What did I write it to there? 325. And then divided by, I don't like writing the division symbol at this level of math. Let's just write it over top of to make it easier. Negative 125. Okay, we've got a positive number divided by a negative number. We know that it's going to be a negative, right? Uneven negative signs. Okay. The 1 is an uneven number or an odd number, so we know the answer is going to be negative 5. And then we just have to divide 325, okay, 325 by 125. Okay, and that answer is 2.6. So negative 2.6 is our answer there. Now, obviously, we're going to be using this new math that we've discovered to solve problems, because otherwise it's just numbers on paper and it's utterly pointless in real life. So let's read this problem. Lynn has a square swimming pool. That's handy. 2 meters deep with side length 4. The swimming pool is joined to a circular hot tub, 1 meter deep, diameter of 2. Okay. Let's just maybe make a diagram of this in 2 dimensions instead of 3 for now. Okay, so it's something like this, and they told us some things. They told us that the square swimming pool has a length of 4, so it's 4 times 4, obviously. And they also told us that the diameter, which is all the way across, is 2. So D equals 2 meters. Okay. That is not to the power of 1, that is just a little scrap. So I'm just going to draw that there to maybe help myself a little bit. Okay, Lynn adds 690 grams. Oh, okay, so we're dealing with volume here too as well. And putting, liquids into other liquids. 690 grams of chlorine to the pool and the hot tub each week. This expression represents how much chlorine is present per 1 meter cubed of water. So that's volume. 690 grams of chlorine for that. The suggested concentration of chlorine is 20 grams per meter cubed. What is the concentration of chlorine in Lynn's pool and hot tub? Is it close to the suggested concentration? So basically we're asking, we're saying she put 690 grams into the pool and hot tub. Did she put enough in? Did you put too much in? We got to check that because that's important. You don't want to have too much chlorine in your pool and your hot tub, and that's what bleaches your hair and makes you smell and gets your eyes all red. So you got to make sure we got the right amount of chlorine. Excuse me. Okay, so we've got 690 on the top end. We'll just evaluate this. 690 on the top end, can't do anything with that yet, divided by 2 times 4 to the power of squared, 4 to the power of 2, plus 3.14, because that's pi, plus 1 to the power of 3. There are no brackets in this equation, but what you can always assume, is if you've got a division statement like this, it's implied that there are brackets on the top and on the bottom. That's important. Okay? It's important to note that if there's, addition, subtraction, anything on the bottom in the denominator or in the numerator, you got to assume that they're covered in brackets. So you've got to do, the top by itself, and then you got to do the bottom by itself before you divide. So we don't really have to do anything on the top here. It's just 690. It told us that. But we have to do the bottom, and I'll just put brackets around it, before we worry about dividing, 690 by whatever. So let's keep 690 up top. Can't do anything about that. We've got brackets down here, but it's just one set of brackets, so obviously we're going to do what's in the brackets first. Move on to the next, which is E. So bed mass, we did the B, or we looked at B, and now we're looking at E. Well, we've got a bunch of exponents. So 2 doesn't have an exponent. Let's just write that down. 4 to the power of 2 is an exponent. 4 to the power of 2 is just 4 times 4. That's 16, so that's a square. We know what squares are. Plus 3.14. We can't do anything with that. And 1 to the power of 3. Well, 1 to the power of 3, 1 to the power of anything is just 1, so that's handy. Let's just keep going now. Still bed mass all the way through, one step at a time. 690 over 2 times 16 plus plus. So, well, we have to do the multiplication first, right? We can't do these additions. We got to do multiplication first. So 2 times 16 is 32. And then we've got plus 3.14 plus 1. All right, now that we're down to addition, we just do it from left to right. So 32 plus 3 plus 3.14 plus 1. Okay, 32 plus 3.14 is 35.14, plus 1 is 36.14. You can just trust me on that. And then it's all division. Remember, a fraction is just division, right? So it's really the same as 690 divided by 36.14. But I always like to write it at this level of math, and you should too, as a fraction. So 36.14. I just basically rewrote that, but I wanted to show you why. All right, now I'm not going to do that in my head, so I'm going to do it with my calculator. 690 divided by 36.14 equals 19.09. I'm just going to round that to 19.1 grams per meter cubed. Now, let's look at what the recommended dose of chlorine is. It is 20 grams per meter cubed of water. So Lynn's is 19.1, very close. It's very close, but we could write something. It says, is it close? Yes, it's close. We could say it's a tiny bit low, but in reality, 19.1 out of 20, pretty darn close. So that answers the question. Don't forget to put that final sentence down there. That's worth usually a half mark on quizzes and exams. So, you've already got the answer. You might as well just write the sentence. Okay, I'm going to do a different video for 2.4. So for 2.3, that should be enough to get you going on the text questions. Don't forget that there are answers posted at the very top of Unit 2, so you can check your answers with what's in the back of the book. Good luck! And don't forget to email us if you got questions.